The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report. On my journeyman shit right now, you know, so I'm gonna sound a little loud. It might sound like it's a lot of background noise, but bear with me. Gotta let y'all know what the fuck is happening out here, man. Shit got real wild. Oh, make sure you sign my petition, get Donald Trump off Twitter. On the change.org, link in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. We're trying to get that Instagram back up, but if it is back up, it'll be on Grady Grant 716. Now in Saudi Arabia, there was a drone and cruise missile attacks that hit up the major oil production facilities over there, killing the oil production in Saudi Arabia by 50% reportedly. So Secretary of State for the U.S. Mike Pompeo called it a major hit to the world's natural resources, and this is being blamed on Iran actually, even though Houthi rebels took responsibility for the attack, and they're known for really battling in Yemen against Saudi Arabia and the attacks that have been, the atrocities that Saudi Arabia has been committing in Yemen or whatnot. But it's real odd. Iran is denying responsibility for it. We'll see what happens. Green War and Graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report. Sign my petition, y'all. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. He is a danger to us, to people abroad, U.S. troops. You can find the change.org link in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. Now, last night at 11:59, 50,000 members of the United Auto Workers Union went on strike, all working for General Motors. Now, them going on strike, they actually did so basically because they feel that General Motors, GM, has denied them their demands for fair compensation and fair working conditions, despite having pulled GM out of, to record profits after a bankruptcy and a federal bailout. Ted Crum, who's actually the head of the bargaining committee for the United Auto Workers, was basically saying, this is about fair compensation, affordable health care, actually even having some workers who aren't full-time employees but doing the same work that they're doing and getting less pay. Like, they're coming for it all. And they're scheduled to actually meet with GM people today. They're gonna have to give up that cash. That's a lot of people. Green War and Graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report. So Purdue Pharma, company that produces a lot of opioids, they're actually held as being majorly responsible for the U.S. opioid crisis in the United, sweeping the nation, taking a lot of lives from a lot of different walks of life. You know what I mean? Even in my hood, rest in peace, Vaz Z. You feel me? But the Sackler family actually owns this company. This company went bankrupt this past Saturday as part of their settlement with the local, state, and tribal governments that are suing them. Now, many of the plaintiffs aren't with this tentative settlement because it allows the Sackler family to not have to admit any guilt and remain billionaires, despite them having to cough up $3 billion and give up $1.5 billion off of the sale of part of their company. But the company then dissolves, but it has to file bankruptcy or whatever, but it still gets to sell Oxycontin, some old funky shit. But check this out. New York Attorney General Letitia James, she's a sister, you know what I mean? But she actually said that she accused them of lowballing the victims and basically found that $1 billion at least have been have been found in Swiss bank accounts or whatever. So it's known that Sackler families via wire transfer are trying to hide their money, and they're waiting the disclosures from 32 different institutions so that they could validate the fact that the Sackler family has been hiding their extreme wealth through investments in foreign institutions. Green War and Graduation. The New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN Report. So it's been a year since current Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh actually was trying to get confirmed into the Supreme Court after being somewhat chosen by Donald Trump, and essentially by the right-wing conservative party. So he's gonna vote right-wing on a lot of issues. But it's been a year since Dr. Christine Blasey Ford had actually sat in front of a Senate hearing and accused this man of raping her at age 15 when he was 17 years old. Now, me personally, I thought the story was kind of funny and the timing was funny, but for all I know, she could have been telling the truth still. Nevertheless, he also had to deny another allegation at the time when former Yale classmate Deborah Ramirez accused him of putting his dick in her face, to which she had to swat it away at a party while he was drunk or whatever. But now the New York Times actually has seven other people who could corroborate that story, including Ramirez's mother, who knew about it for years, and some people even knew about it like right after it happened. So I don't know. So people are calling for his resignation again. I just think he's fucking stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you ask me, and he should be kicked out for that. The whole sexual misconduct thing, I think it's a broad brush, but you know, maybe he did do that shit. You know what I'm saying? And she really felt violated, but I don't know, man. Greenwald on graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady Lane. Y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Make sure you sign that petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. You can find the change.org link in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. Instagram account, Grady Grant 716 is where it has the bio that would normally be in. It's currently shut down right now because they hating on me and on y'all because they don't want y'all to get this real information on a day-to-day basis. But we're going to fix all of that very, very soon. Meantime, just catch us on all the podcast platforms where we kick the BFN report and on YouTube. Now check this out. In Hong Kong, protests are actually continuing. Now, I told y'all about how the chief executive of Hong Kong, Carrie Lam, actually withdrew that extradition bill, which actually started these weeks of protesting that's been going on that have actually gotten violent. But that apparently didn't do anything. And, you know, riots and protests still continue. Riot police came out, you know, firing tear gas and water cannons and all of that over this weekend. This is like the 15th, 16th straight week of protests. So, no sign of stopping, and China probably going to end up stepping in there. People are calling for the U.S. and Britain, Hong Kong's former colonial ruler, to actually intervene. We'll see how this pans out. Greenwald and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady Lane. Y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Sign that petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. Find that change.org link in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube, or it would be on the Instagram, but they trying to hate on all of us, basically keep y'all from getting that knowledge, keep me from getting my shine, even though it's my time. We gonna come back on that gram, don't worry about it. You see me on my journeyman shit, so bear with me. It's a lot of noise in the background, and you might hear me talking loud, but nevertheless, we gotta get into this news. So in Tunisia, in Africa, they actually had their second ever presidential election this past Sunday, yesterday actually, and it turns out two outsiders are actually leading the polls. You're talking about Nabil Karoui, a populist media mogul who actually is in prison right now for accused of money laundering charges he denied. And then you have Kais Saeed, who's actually a law professor and a constitutional affairs expert who recently went into went as an independent or whatever. So they're likely to actually head off to a runoff election next month. You have the voter turnout was actually at 45%, 20 percentage points lower than it was back in 2014. But you know, we'll see how this pans out. Greenwald and Graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So over in Africa, actually in Algeria specifically, remember I told y'all at the beginning of the year there was a bunch of protests calling for the president at the time, Abdelaziz Bouteflika, long-time president, old-ass motherfucker who people haven't seen in years or whatever. They've been calling for this man to step down from power for a while. There was a lot of protesting going on. Now they actually got him to resign, you know what I'm saying? Which goes to show that, marching and protesting, and when the people speak, motherfuckers gonna have to listen, you know what I mean? Power is with the people. But check this out though. Protests continue because motherfuckers want the whole ruling elite to actually leave before elections start. They were initially supposed to have presidential elections back in July, but they were canceled. This past Friday, tens of thousands of people were actually marching for more of the ruling elite to step down, despite the interim president, Abdelkader Ben Salah, actually announcing that presidential elections will be held on December 12th. So we'll see what happens. Greenwald and Graduation. We'll go to Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Sign that petition, y'all. Get Donald Trump on Twitter. Go find the change.org link in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. You would typically find it in Grady Grant 716 in the bio on Instagram, but Instagram is hating on us, y'all. They trying to shut down Black Fox News, shut down the BFN report, but we gonna give y'all that truth anyway. Hopefully y'all listening to this either via YouTube or via Black Fox News Radio on all your favorite podcasts platforms. Now check this out. In Britain, actually, Julian Assange, the WikiLeaks founder, was actually in prison in Britain, as many of you knew, United Kingdom or whatever. But they actually, he was set to be released, but they actually ruled that he's, due to his history of absconding, as they said, basically trying to get the fuck out of the way, he's a risk and he has to remain in prison even after his current term ends. Now, keep in mind that the British Home Secretary actually requested that he be extradited to the United States, and they're actually going to have an official hearing on that in February. So, you know, we'll see what happens. The U.S., they're trying to charge him with 18 counts of, including 17 counts of violating the Espionage Act. So he might have some hell to come to if he goes to the U.S. Greenwald and Graduation, the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Hey, yo, make sure y'all sign that petition. Get Donald Trump off Twitter. You can find the change.org link in the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. Or if Instagram stops hating and turns back on Grady Grant 716 on Instagram, you'll find it in the bio there. Now, check this out. A federal appeals court actually revived an emoluments clause case against our celebrity-in-chief, Donald Trump. Now, they actually say the plaintiffs in this case actually include a hotel operator, a restaurant owner, that are basically saying that Donald Trump is using his presidency to give his businesses a competitive advantage by offering government patrons favor with the president if they decide to spend money at his businesses. This case was originally dismissed in 2017 and is one of 3 major emoluments clause cases against the president. Trump is likely to appeal, which means that it'll go to the Supreme Court. Unfortunately, they'll probably rule in Trump's favor, but we'll see what happens though. Greenwald and the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So Hollywood actress Felicity Huffman actually received 2 weeks in prison. This 2-week prison sentence for essentially paying $15,000 for having someone correct her SAT score so she could get into so her daughter could get into a good college. You know, and she's the first parent to be sentenced out of this Varsity Blues scandal, which involved like 50 people, you know, they white people or whatever, that were basically paying money and finding all of these sneaky ways to get their privileged kids into these privileged colleges. Now, this actually also comes with a $30,000 fine and 250 hours of community service. Now, while I think the sentence is like, 250 hours, you know what I'm saying? That's still time, but nothing compares to like what the prosecutors were saying, calling for more prison time for this woman, because it's like they brought up Kelly Williams-Ballard. This is a black woman who actually got 5 years in prison. Free her for basically using her father's address to get her kid into a better school district. Her kid was like a youngin', you talking like little kids. So, you know what I mean? It's the system. You know it ain't for us though. Greenwald and Graduation, the New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So, when 76 protesters with Close the Camps organization were actually arrested in New York City in the Microsoft building after doing a sit-in, basically protesting Microsoft's collaboration with the government and particularly Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE, the police strong arm for the Department of Homeland Security. Somebody from Movimiento Cosecha actually said that after Palantir, Microsoft is actually the second largest, or after Palantir, Microsoft is the largest cloud service provider for the U.S. government. So this obviously raises a lot of problems. Also keep in mind, this is a government that allows for, the Project for Government Oversight actually, through a FOIA request, obtained a 2018 report that showed that in Adelanto Immigration Jail in California, they're actually placing an alarming rate of immigrants with serious mental illness in solitary confinement for shockingly long periods. So there's some definitely human rights abuses that's happening with ICE. You know what I'm saying? These ICE jails. So, people have a right to be upset at these companies about it. Hopefully something happens. Greenwald and Graduation, New World Order, Bishop Grady, letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. Now, I told y'all last week about how Greenpeace activists were actually rappelled off this bridge that was actually over the Houston Ship Channel, the largest oil exporting channel in the United States. Actually, all of the big oil companies actually use this channel to transport oil. So these Greenpeace activists actually put objects that were hanging off of the bridge, preventing essentially stopping shipping traffic or whatever. So they were all arrested, and apparently they're all facing like state felony or state and federal charges for their nonviolent civil disobedience. Now, Greenpeace USA actually reports that they faced abuse when they were actually arrested. So, we'll see what happens with these activists. But people should take this, powers that be should take this as a sign that the people are not fucking happy with their lack of response to the pollution and the mistreatment of essentially the abuse of people who don't necessarily have enough money to go to war with them, legally, you know what I'm saying? But these are human rights abuses, like, so motherfuckers is speaking up. Y'all better listen. Green War Graduation. New World Order Bishop Grady letting y'all know what the fuck going on for this BFN report. I know I keep shouting out Greta Thunberg. This is a 16-year-old little white girl from Sweden that actually has, essentially last year, she started this, Friday National Climate Strike initiative where she would be skipping school and basically protesting on behalf of climate change. And now this movement has gone global. Now I think if y'all been keeping up with me, I told y'all about how she essentially took a boat over from Europe to New York City or whatever to have like a zero carbon emissions trip, net zero carbon emissions trip, and actually made it to the US, and she's going to continue her climate strikes every Friday until the global climate strike that's actually supposed to take place this Friday, ahead of Monday's United Nations Climate Summit. Now that's going to take place in New York City. Now she actually had this past Friday's strike in front of the White House in DC. So it was a lot of students in Washington DC as well as environmentalists that gathered around her. And as she spoke, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to her, shout out to the young people for actually taking initiative on this, because it's your world. Green War and Graduation.